So there's something I gotta go through because I'm not 100% sure of the date of this. So I'm going to describe what I know to be absolutely true. This is 100%. I'm not. I believe that there's also other parents that did an investigation and other parents that already looked into it. And there's another child that wasn't in my class, but he used to live in this place. There also was a girl who gave me a teddy bear, and then they made me give the teddy bear back, if my parents even remember that. This is the school that I got no education with. We went to school in the basement. That's where the classroom was, where we played toys all day. No classes all day long. There was absolutely no classes, nothing. You played with toys, you played wiffle bat outside, you ate lunch, you played with toys, you went home. It was basically a daycare, but these are not people. You're not of the age of daycare. You're like way, way past daycare. Because remember, I've already got school in Texas that was way past playing with toys. So we've now come back to Maine from Texas, and we now just moved into Chelmsford. We just moved in, and this is one of the first schools I went to. Now, I believe this was either right before middle school, public school in Chelmsford, or it was right after public school, middle school, Chelmsford. It was a brick building. We used to go to down in the basement. This van would drop us off. It was about the same time that H1N1 was on the news because it was on the radio. I remember the bus radio talking about H1N1 and how it was affecting and we should be scared as it was bringing me to this school. That's all I learned that whole year. H1N1 was on the radio. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I mean, lots of Yu-Gi-Oh card trading. That's when I was big, 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 just started into Yu-Gi-Oh. This is like just the beginning of the Yu-Gi-Oh. And that's what we did all day long. We played Yu-Gi-Oh cards, we played with toys, then we played wiffle bat, eat lunch, played with some more toys, and then we went home. And that continued all year long. All year long. And I'm sure this is probably the school that was shut down. Um, because there was many other kids in my class, and I'm guessing as they grew up, they did what I did. They told their parents, "Hey, I didn't get much school there. I didn't get any. I didn't learn that there." I'm guessing they did what I did. But see, I told my parents the truth right away. I mean, halfway through the year, I went up to my parents and said, "Hey, you know there's no classes here, right?" And they said, "Oh, well, we'll take care of that then." They got very mad at me at first, but then they're like, "Wait a minute. Okay." And then they must have made a phone call or something like they usually do, and it doesn't help. Then the next day, the teacher put me in front of the class, told them it's all my fault because I snitched to my parents. They didn't say the word snitch. They said, Zachary told his parents about the Yu Gi Oh cards and the playing. So today, you guys can stay at your desks. And she dropped the book in front of all of us, but she left the room. She completely left the room, locked the door, and then I was still standing up. And then I just went back to my seat. She didn't actually tell me I could go sit back down. She wanted me to stay standing. But after she left the room, I wasn't going to bother with that. One of the other kids, too, when she turned her back to leave, mooned her. And I was just scared. I was like, what the fuck? Everybody screaming, oh, it's your fault, Zach. All the kids getting mad at me. When I sat down, I looked around. The kids were just putting their heads down on their desk. And we basically slept all day. But at the end of the day, people just kind of did what the kids got out of their desk, did whatever they wanted in the classroom. The teacher would come back in. And this was only one day. This was the closest to class we ever got was sleeping on the books. And the next day, we went back to playing with toys. And I wasn't stupid enough to tell my parents again. Um, I did that at New Mexico. I did that 100 times, and things always got more worse. They would drug me more. They would say more about me. They would come up with more stories for me. They would bring me the new places and want me to go along with these stories. So whenever I went, Mom, Dad, I think this is wrong. Okay, we'll handle it. And then I'm in more trouble. Then nothing goes better for me. I after this classroom, I was like, what the hell? Even later, when I was going to Worcester. I told my parents about another time where people were playing with each other's vaginas on a field vacation. They were showing boobs. It was actually a pretty good time. I got to be part of it. I got to see it. That's it. I got to see the boobies. I got to watch them screwing around with each other. And I told my mother and father what they do. They called the school, told them everything I said, and then the school told all the kids who snitched, and then the kids wanted to beat the living shit out of me. One did push me around a little bit after that. How is that helping me at all? And I'm just telling the truth. I go up, my father and mother, I say, hey, this is what was going on. This is what was happening. This is the truth. And then they just make everything so much worse. Just like right now. I'm making these videos. I'm telling them I've had this neurological disorder for 25 years. And what do they want to do? They want to hire attorneys to cover their own ass. They want to drink. They want to go on the beach. They want to hang out with friends. And they want to talk shit about me to all their family when I'm not there. They want to talk behind my back, say, oh, Zach's crazy. He tells stories. He's making up stories. And that's fine. I mean, lots of people know that that's bull. They know this is real. They've seen it themselves. Hundreds of people know this is real. There's also documents from DMH workers. And of course, this is a medical thing, as well as I'm sure Patricia was showing all different types of signs of craziness to lots more than just me and some other people. There was probably a lot more going on that I wasn't there for. Um, and this is the worst part. I try to go, hey, there's no classes here for an entire year. Hey, well, why? I think ain't I supposed to be doing something? Because when I was in Texas, we had classes, and this is past that. So shouldn't I be past what I was learning in Texas, not daycare? And then when I was in New Mexico, we had classes at first for like 2 months, and then they said the teacher wouldn't be coming back, and then the staff, like the black, big, giant black guy, who has no teaching experience whatsoever, just brought us into a tent and said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do classes, but here's a video game system for the older kids to play, and younger kids, you just sit there, and I promise tomorrow we're going to go camping, and I'm going to teach you how to set up a tent and stuff." I'm like, this is my daytime classes? Okay. So in New Mexico, I got that type of classes. I did get real classes at the beginning, though. When we left New Mexico and went to Massachusetts, there was a school, and that's my parents couldn't know that, but when I told them, they should have asked some more, and I would have eventually told them again and again and again and again. But I also, they should have asked what happened today. They should have came up and been like, okay, so we called the school. What did the school respond with? Oh, they stood me up in front of class. They embarrassed me, and I got into lots of trouble for telling you guys the truth. I told you guys how we're playing toys every day, playing cards every day, and now I'm getting punished for it. Thank you guys. And so, but they didn't want to have conversations about these things. They would make things worse, and then they would just want to go back to whatever they were doing. And I would push the truth. I would. I would come, I would push the truth about my mother, I would push the truth about the schools, I would push the truth about myself, the depression, the shakes, I would try to let everybody know what was going on, and then they would just make things worse. They would push a narrative, make up a story, tell the family that I'm some crazy kid, tell the family that I'm mentally disabled and I can't have a learning disability, when really, no, it's a neurological disorder and lack of education, as well as it's hard to learn when you have a screaming mother or 14 screaming kids beating you up. As well as there was multiple druggings, double druggings, as well as my mother was doing something with medication. I wish I knew what those medications were, what the dosages were, and all that. But it was doing horrible things to my body, so it definitely wasn't normal. Definitely wasn't what the doctors wanted. And it would happen to me one day, and then my mother would have other medications for me for weeks. And then when she needed me to be quiet again, or if she wanted a certain type of time for herself, or just wanted to change the channel for the movie, like, oh, I don't want to watch a Batman movie for 2 hours. I'm not sure if that was an accident or maybe she just didn't want to deal with me that day. I was only like 5 or 7. I mean, all kids are hyper. But this was happening to me. This is true. But I can expect my family to probably just ignore it, like always. Make it worse, get me hurt, get a bunch of attorneys together to hurt me, try to, what, lock me up now? Is that, yeah, that's probably what they're going to do. They're probably going to try to lock me up for speaking the truth. That's it. They don't like the truth. People don't like it. They don't. You know what that old saying? You can't handle the truth. Well, there's a reason for that. There's a big reason for it because a lot of people can't. They don't know what to do in a serious situation. You discuss it with your child. You sit them down and you have full discussions with your child. You get to the bottom of it, and you don't just call the school and then say it's over with. Okay, we called the school, our job's done. No, that's not enough. You can't make one phone call and then your job's over with. You can't take a bunch of pills because you don't want to deal with the child. You can't try to make him out to be disabled, especially if somebody's trying to make him disabled. That's really messed up. And this stuff I reported over and over and over, and it looks like little or nothing was done except for to make my situation worse, make my health worse. And I know my father didn't mean it, but he should have been doing more. I mean, this is awful. I have a lot of true events. I mean, I could pass a lie detector on this, as well as sometimes I burst into tears, at least years ago I did. I don't burst into tears anymore when talking about it. It still bothers me quite a bit. But I used to burst into tears. It bothered me so much. I mean, oh my God, these are awful. They're crazy things to do to a child and an adult. I mean, because when you do this to a child and you cripple them, it's not like they're going to be uncrippled as an adult. When you cripple a child, when you do these things to a child, and you're trying to make them slower, you're trying to get them to, get out of your way because you're too old to deal with it, that has consequences, not only to your child, but when your kid grows up, you've shaved his life. Instead of living to 90, now he's going to live to 40. And depending on how much more damage you do, he's going to suffer for the rest of his life. This is serious. And are they dealing with it? No. 25 years later, still waiting. 25 years of speaking up, still waiting. Spoke up about the school, spoke up about the meds, spoke up about the night, spoke up about the Epicac, spoke up about my mother's drinking, spoke up about having suicidal thoughts and depression and having an unregistered gun in the house, spoke up about all the medicines making me feel that way, spoke up that the medicines were causing damage, spoke up that my mother was acting weird with the pills, she got caught red-handed taking my pills, and she did it many more times than that one time. I caught her several times in other ways when I was taking it. And I shouldn't have been taking them either. See, I know that. I know that I shouldn't be taking anybody else's medication. Only ones that the doctor has prescribed to me at a certain dose. And they should be very careful what the doctor's prescribed for me. I want to know why I'm being prescribed it, what the side effects are, how you know I need this medication. I have a whole checklist. And then if things go wrong, I need you to switch it or take me off slowly. I have a whole checklist thanks to my mother because she fucked up my medical record. She made me out to be something I wasn't, and she fucked up my body. And my father just went in the corner, sat in the corner, and allowed it. That's so wrong, and I'm going to be paying the price for the rest of my life. And they still don't even want to believe it. They want to go in their fantasy land. What the hell? I mean, other parents have already figured this shit out. He is so late. I mean, there are so many other parents that learned about these schools and learned about these drugs and learned about this 10, 12 years ago. And they had people saying that something might be going on, my brother, and somebody's not showing up to the funeral, and there's just all this weird behavior, and it's not making my behavior any better, and it's screwing me up. Luckily, I unscrewed my mind up. Now I just got to unscrew my body up. Yeah, and it was a lot of work to unscrew my mind up too. It was a lot of damn work. What was done to me wasn't right. There's nothing I can do about that, but move on. But moving on requires bringing the truth to everybody because everybody deserves to know what happened to me, who did it to me, when it happened, and what was going on in that house. Because I'm sure that there's a lot of made up fantasies that my mother spread all around because I overheard some of them when I was there. And I called her out as a liar, and I even caught her lying. I was even able to trick her into eating her words a couple times. But there were several times where I just had to take the take the fantasy. Where I would say, I'm not lying, I'm not lying, I'm not lying, I'm not lying. Didn't matter how many times I said that. Her story stuck. And then after she stuck a couple, every time I told the truth, there was just another story she could say. Oh, Zach's just making up, don't pay any attention. No, that's another story, don't pay any attention. Oh, Zach's an evil child, don't pay any attention. No, I was doing good all the way back in the programs. I was helping kids. I mean, little girls were giving me teddy bears. I mean, I was always one of the most likable boys in all these places. Mostly because I never wanted to hurt anybody. I never wanted to do it. I never stole. I mean, yeah, I stole from people who stole from me to teach them a lesson. That was wrong. But that happened with all of them, and I had a lot more stolen from me. Um, I should actually clarify that also stopped very much later, but I also redid that with medications under my addiction. So there's a lot of going on with that. There is no reason to take other people's medications or stuff, even if somebody has done wrong to you. It's not right to do wrong to them. And I didn't figure that out until about 1920 when I was kind of dealing with other people who were stealing from me on a regular basis. And I didn't want to steal from them anymore. I was like, I don't have anything. And so I'm just like, I'm tired of this. They're stealing from me no matter if I steal from them or not. That's just wrong in general. And that's when I decided, even if they steal $100,000 from me, I'm not even taking a penny, a necklace, not even a ride from this guy. So that's just how I am. But even at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I always wanted to help people. I mean, why do you think I stuck with Teacher's Aid? Why do you think the kids love me so much? Why do you think I worked with elderly people and these people that nobody else would ever put up with? I mean, Raymond, oh my God, the people I take care of are beyond what anybody puts up with. And that's because I had to put up with something way worse. I had to put up with somebody drugging me constantly, telling lies about me constantly, hurting me constantly, doing all different types of crazy behaviors, as well as destroying my body and my education. And the other party just sat there and went with the fooled. He let himself get fooled. He went into denial. He kind of just went with this fantasy land. And every time I try to tell him to listen, 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 please pay attention. Here, I'll tell you all the truths, everything that you don't know. I have a bottle of wine hidden that was never opened, and you don't even know about that. And I'm being honest with you. But no, it never mattered how many truths I told him. Didn't matter how much stuff I came forward with, they never knew. Didn't matter how many lies I proved my mother was telling. I am always going to be the one getting hurt. I'm going to continue to get hurt for the rest of my life, sober or not. I'm sober. I'm going to stay sober, but I'm going to get hurt. My mother did stuff to me, and it's been happening for 25 years, and it's getting closer together. It's getting worse, and it's going to continue going that. Now I'm not treating myself. I could treat myself tomorrow, but that's only going to buy myself time. I'm not doing that. I'm going to wait for the doctors to treat me, and I'm going to wait for people to understand this is the truth. This is what really happened. And if they don't like it, too bad. The truth hurts. I know, I realize it. It hurts me too. The truth of what was done to me hurts. It does. But it hurts me more than it hurts anybody else. So they have no right to be mad. You know what? This happened to me. How would you like it to happen to you? You think that me saying this is so bad? You think me talking about this and making it into my life story, putting it down so other people can learn from it? If you think that's so bad, how about having it done to you? Wouldn't it be worse if I did these things to somebody else? Can you imagine if I drugged another child? Can you imagine if I did those things my mother did to me? I gave them 8 ounces of Epicac. It's taken off the market, for goodness sake. You're only supposed to give them a little thin, little capful, the little measurement, little line, and you're supposed to read the back. No. And she even admitted there was extra in there, and I could see the extra in there. That's wrong. If I did these to my child or somebody else's child, that would be so messed up. And it happened to me. You don't think that that's wrong. You don't think that these things happening to me are wrong. Of course they are. And if you don't think that it's wrong that these things happen to me, or you don't think it's true, then you're in denial And you need to take a look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not a good person and I'm going to do better next time. Because, yes, this happened to me. It's awful, but it needs to be discussed. It needs to be addressed, and I need to be able to get proper medical care. That's simple. And everybody needs to look themselves in the mirror and say, what am I doing good in life? Who have I hurt? And what am I doing right now? Am I ignoring something that could kill somebody? Am I doing damage? As you people really need to look inside themselves a lot more. I'll tell you what, when I looked inside myself, I realized I did a lot of things wrong, like doing drugs. When I was on those drugs, I stole some more drugs and money and things like that. Absolutely. And that's why I'm sober today, because I looked inside and I saw my problems. And I'm willing to get as sick as it takes, even if I die, well, I might very soon. It might be only a couple years away. The vein in my neck is popping out crazily. I don't mean like when you have high blood pressure. I mean there's a pain that goes right on the artery, goes right down to my heart. And then I also have a GI problem. And then I got the pulsing in my back that's been going on for 25 years with my nervous system. It's like a taser like feeling. That one goes back 25 years. The rest I can deal with because I can blame it maybe on myself. I can process it. I can get help with the doctors. I can also describe these new symptoms much clearer because I'm an adult. But this 25-year-old disorder is much harder to deal with because somebody covered it up. They didn't want it coming out. When I mentioned it to them at the doctor's, they called it an allergy. Then they called it a coordination issue. Then they just said I was biting myself and doing weird things to myself, even though some of these times I wasn't. There was only one time I ever cut myself, and it didn't help. I was too numb, and it didn't really do very much to help me, so I was like, oh, no, forget this shit. I cut myself a couple times. Forget it now. It's not doing any good with the nervous system. It's not helping me feel. Yeah, I feel a little bit of pain, and then it's the same anyways. But then I'm falling out of trees. I'm cutting my foot on the back of a pool. I'm bumping my shins in the stuff, getting scratched on the cement. My shins are always getting bumped in the stuff. And all threes, oh, Zach's doing it to himself. Zach's doing it to himself. No, I'm not. I am not doing these things on purpose at all. But nope, this fantasy keeps on going no matter what. She tells my doctors, she tells my friends, she tells all these programs that I'm doing all these things, and I say, no, I'm not. But it doesn't matter because my father backs her. Says, okay, yeah, he's doing it. No matter how much I beg that this is going to hurt me in the long run, no matter how much I tell them this is not true. There's something else going on. There's something else going on. Something else going on. I'm mad at my mother. This has nothing to do with my biological mother. This has to do with my adopted mother. Something happened that night. Something continued to happen to me, and I want to know what it is. That was it. That was my problem with my adopted mother. You are doing something to my body, and I want to know what it is. You are doing something to my body. I want to know what it is. And I brought this right up to her. I brought this right up to her when she wanted to know. And then she would dodge the question. She would make up excuses. She would say that I'm crazy. She would try to drink herself into a coma. She would get into rages, telling me I'm like a dog. She would scream on the top of her lungs or act very bizarre. There's many examples I'm mentioning with other people there, like that Christmas tree party where she told me to go on the carpet, and then she told me to get down, yelled at me, told me I'm no greater than the dog, and then I'm laying down. She says get even further down, even though there is no further down. And then somebody on the couch had to tell her to calm the hell down. That used to happen every day. She used to have these fits all the time. And you think it didn't affect me in some way? You don't think it's going to cause me some type of emotional distress? You don't think it's going to make me have behaviors? Of course it is. But luckily, I was able to figure out what the right and wrong thing to do is. But God forbid I ever did these things that my mother did to me. I mean, that would be awful. And when you get this type of abuse, sometimes it does pass on. If your father hits you in the head, punches you, well, my father never did, by the way. He was a very good father, other than looking in the corner, staying out of this mess, and backing her craziness. I mean, that's his only mistake. I think he's kind of a victim in denial himself. But anyways, when a father beats their son over and over and over. Sometimes when the son grows up, they beat their child. Like if you punish your child with Epicac, full bottles of Epicac or full glasses, or in my mother's case, extra Epicac was her exact words. Extra. It was a lot more than extra. There's only the bottle's like 8 ounces to begin with, and she filled the cup. She filled the 8 ounce cup. 8 ounce cup. And made me drink it all. I mean that. I mean, luckily she left the room at the end, and I was able to pour a couple drops out of the bottom. I sometimes I call it half, but it's really just maybe an ounce at most. It was. I drank at least 9/10 of the drink. But anyways, if somebody does that to you, sometimes your mental reaction is to do it to your children. Whenever they get in trouble, you punish them in the same way that your mother punished you. But I learned that that wasn't right. Just because somebody does something to you doesn't mean you should do it to them. And if somebody like your parents do something to you, doesn't mean necessarily you should do it to your kids. So this is why I say, so listen to my book, listen to my life story, and hopefully you guys can learn from it. Hopefully a lot of people learn from my true life story. It's really depressing, but I'm going to try to throw in a lot of these good memories that kept me through. And also I learned a lot of life lessons, but it was very, really difficult to be dealing with somebody making me disabled. It was. And there's other parents doing this today. And we need a lot more investigations, surveillance, cameras. We need a lot more of society looking into these problems. And and when somebody tries to cover up their mistakes, we can't just let it fall on deaf ears. If somebody talks about the same night for 25 years, there's probably something that happened that night, and it probably should be discussed before I get so many head injuries that I'm a bumbling idiot.